Hey everybody. I want to talk to everyone about dispatching fire calls. We recently had a meeting with the chief, the fire chief, and throughout the meeting he kept talking about the word consistency. And so what he's looking for is consistency throughout the squads on how we dispatch our fire calls. We want to make sure that all of our fire calls are dispatched in the same way, in the same format, the same procedure. With that comes the understanding that not every call, of course, is the same, and so there's going to be differences between each call. The incident type may be the same, but the specifics of the call, of course, will be different. And so we understand that, and I think he understands that. But procedural-wise, and the format of how it's dispatched is really what we want to talk about today. This is basic. This is something that I know you guys do every day, and not to insult your intelligence, because I know you do this every day, but sometimes I believe that after a while, when there's a deviation from what's supposed to be done, that deviation can sometimes become the norm. And when there's not a foundation to build off of, or at least to go by, and then that's when each squad kind of starts doing it their own same way, and that goes against what we want to do, what our goals are. And so we want consistent dispatching, and so that we can get consistent results. And so, and this is not just with our dispatchers. This is with when it comes to the fire chief. He expects this for his fire personnel also. And so this is across the board. This is not just us. And so we're not. No one's picking on anybody, but again, just to build that foundation of procedure and of the format of how to put out a fire call. And so this is going to be really quick training. It's not going to take just for a few minutes. And so not getting into the CAD, we want to make sure that we get those CAD recommendations. That we want to make sure that that call goes into the CAD as quick as we can. So that we can get those CAD recommendations. Once we have those CAD recommendations, then we can go ahead and start dispatching the call. And so that's where we want to start from. That's what we want to talk about today. And so the three things that we want to make sure that we do, the three objectives that we need to make sure are met for each and every fire call are the call pre-announce, the tones themselves, and of course dispatching that call to get those guys the information that they need while they're on, as they go there. And so when we talk about a pre-announce, the reason that we have a pre-announce, it gives the fire personnel a heads up. It gives them an opportunity to listen for the call that's about to be dispatched, in much like a tone would. But this is a way that we can give them some speech, something to listen to, something they can clarify, some information that they can go ahead and start getting in their head what's going to be going on when they get to the scene there. And so that's the pre-announce. Again, it just gives them a heads up. When we give that pre-announce, we want to make sure that the format of that pre-announce is the same. And so that has been agreed upon by Chief Spain, Ray Livingston, Billy Floyd, the meetings that I've been privy to. It's been agreed upon that the format is there, what you see on your screen there. And I use an all-station call just as an example. And so it's, fire comm, all stations, standby, structure fire, 1015 2nd Avenue South. You have three aspects there. The first one being the all stations. We don't want to get into giving each and every apparatus during a pre-announce. That just would take too long. We already have to do that when we dispatch the call. And so it's been agreed upon that we're just going to give the stations that's going to be toned here, be it all stations or be it station 1, station 2, whatever it is. We want to make sure that we're just saying the stations. We want to we're going for brevity here. We're just trying to give them a general, quick synopsis of what's going on. We don't want to get into the specifics just yet. We give the incident type, structure fire in this case, first responder, accident with injuries, whatever that may be. And of course we want to give an address, and once they get that address, uh, it clarifies on the back end when you're actually dispatching the call and repeating all this information. That information can clarify for the officer what the reason that we do that pre-announce is, you hate to say it this way, but it's something they've become accustomed to. And so, and I know that everyone throws up we shouldn't change it if it's been, but it's more of it's a format of how they're used to hearing that call. In much the same way we're used to hearing traffic stops come in a certain way. There's a certain format that our brain is willing to listen to that traffic stop, or at least in my case. And when there's a deviation from the format, it's harder for our dispatchers to and so it's an agreed upon format, and that's what these guys are used to listening to, and so it does help them. There has been talk about maybe getting rid of a pre-announce in the future. And as of right now, it's just talk. It's on condition of what our CAD and radio consoles do once they're jived, and all these things that play a part. And so it may not happen. But bottom line is this: we got to do it. And so the pre-announce, the format there is what you see on the screen. Firecom, all stations, standby, structure fire, 1015 2nd Avenue South. Those three things have to be met when you give out the format. It's still early. Let me have a swig of coffee here. When we're paging out the tones are preset, and so you'll see those CAD recommendations. You'll see in the provisioning notes there. You'll see what stations that you're supposed to do there. If it's an all-station tone, it'll say it's an all-station tone. I'll show you that in just a minute. And so the tones, again, much like a pre-announce, it's another way of giving those guys a heads up. If they're asleep, obviously those tones are meant to wake them up, and so that's why we do those those tones. When we're actually dispatching the call, this is when we can get into the actual specifics of the call, giving out the full list of apparatus that are supposed to respond to it, giving out more specific information about that call, so those guys can have a heads up as they're on the way as to planning for what they're going to be dealing with when they get there. And so how do you decide, especially when you don't want to write a book as you're transmitting? You want to give enough information for those guys to get en route, to give them a heads up what's going on, but you don't want to take up a lot of airtime to make that happen. That's one of the ABCs of broadcasting, is the brevity part. And so what information, how do we decide what information to throw out there? And so, put yourself into the shoes of your first responders. What would you want to know if you were on the way, if you were going to that call? Keeping in mind that not all information has to be given on the transmission itself. We can give more information while they're en route, and so and that's fine. Also, when we give that en route, once one apparatus goes, and we give that further information, whatever information may be, there's no need to repeat that information every time an apparatus is going. We are under the understanding that those guys are listening to each other as they go to that call, and so one update is enough. And so again, the example that you see on your screen there, it says Firecom. It gives a list of the engines: 711, engine 721, engine 731, battalion, Chief 70, Training 71, FM 72. All of these are apparatus and personnel that are going to be responding, or at least going to be dispatched to this call. And I believe there's actually one engine missing on this. I think there's a 4-engine response for an all-station call. And so one engine is missing. We'll talk about that in a minute. Of course, we're going to give that structure fire there. Some guy weed eating outside the building there. Of course, right during my video. Of course. Anyway, so we're going to give that structure fire, and and I went on to say, fire and smoke showing. It's an occupied building. In this case, it's a government building because it's our address. It's where we are, and so what a horrible day that would be. So anyway, the format is there. Firecom, the apparatus, the incident type, what's specifically going on there, and then again the address. And so keeping all that in mind, we want to keep it at that format. What you see now is you'll see the obviously you see your CAD screen, and so just to kind of walk you through it real quick and not very general wise, you'll see there on the far left hand side, I got it circled there. You see the incident that's going on. We see that's it's FSF, which is fire, structure fire, and we get an address there. The recommendations there in the middle of what we're going to be sending to that call. And so we have our dispatch list there, Engine 711, 21, 31, battalion chief, etc. You'll see there at the bottom, still in the circle, it says missing from recommendations. You see one engine and one SP. That one engine is the missing engine that I talked about from the previous slide there. 4-engine response, one of the engines is missing, most likely because that engine is either on another call or is out of service for whatever reason. And so that just goes with making sure that our CADs, that our apparatus are out when they're out, in when they're in, on the call when they're on the call. And so those guys are using their MDTs to go out and in and things. And so that shouldn't be a concern. It shouldn't be an issue for us as dispatchers. It should. And so if one of those engines is missing from the recommendation of the call, it just means that that engine is out. That means it could be another call or just out of service, whatever. The one SP there is what I've been explained to is something that had to go in as far as provisioning. It's a fake apparatus that had to be created. And so when you see that one SP, it really just means nothing for us as dispatchers. It just nothing you have to worry about with that. It's something in provisioning that was kind of a fix in order to make it work, and it's not even working right now. And so that's a future thing that's going to be coming. So the SP, don't even worry about that. So just wanted to kind of show you what that was. On the far right hand side, you'll see right hand side of the screen, you'll see it's got some recommendations there, not recommendations but some instructions. Send two PSOs, notify EMS, Santee Cooper if requested, and also with an all station call there. And so it shows you the actual where you're supposed to choose on your radio screen when we get to the paging part of it. And so we got our CAD there. It shows our recommendations. Now when we get into the actual radio console there, and I know this is PowerPoint, so bear with me here. So to walk you through this all station call that we need to tone, the very first thing that we want to do is we want to use our multi-select box, which is on the far right hand side of the screen. It's red right now. It says NMP control, NMB, VHF page, NMF, Firecom. It's not activated right now. So we want to activate that. And so when we come up here and activate it, you'll see the cursor come up and activate that, highlight that in a green. And so once that's highlighted, you'll see that VHF page and NMF Firecom, those two channels are automatic. They're already there. And so the reason that is because every time we dispatch a fire call, we want to make sure that those two channels, that it goes out on those two channels each and every time. And so once we have that, now it's just a matter of selecting the station radio channels that we want to dispatch to. And so this is an all station call, so we're going to choose all of the stations. So we'll choose 1, we'll choose station 2, 3, 4, and of course 5. Okay. And so once we have the channels selected that we want to use, then we'll come up to our transmit button. We'll hold down that transmit, and we'll go ahead and do our pre-announce. And so so again, Firecom, all stations, structure fire, 1015 2nd Avenue South. And so we've got our pre-announce down, and so once we're done with that pre-announce, objective 1 has been met. We're done there. And now objective number 2 is actually to put out those tones to the stations that we've selected. And so you'll see our pagers, which are right beside our multi-select box near the right-hand side of the screen there, and they're all locked right now. You can see a little Ghostbuster mark on each and every one of them. So we need to unlock those so that we can select the ones we want to select. And so if we come over just a little bit on the top screen there, you'll see our our multi-select for our pagers, and we'll hit that, and of course that unlocks the pagers. We can come over and now we can actually give out our fire call. We're going to choose our all call button on this one. We don't want to select each and every station, because each and every station has a separate tone, and so if you were to select every station, it's going to go through each and every tone. You're going to get through 5 tones before you actually get to where you can actually transmit the call. And so we use the NMB all call so that we just have that one all call tone that we can go ahead and dispatch after that. Again, we're talking about brevity as much as we can. Also, when we choose an all call, our radio console, as for now, doesn't choose the other ones that need to be selected, like battalion chief, chief 70, the fire marshal, prevention, or the safety officer. Those are not selected automatically, so we actually do that manually now. And hopefully in the future that will change, but for right now we have to do that. Once we've selected the pagers of the stations and the personnel who need to get these tones, we can go ahead and come over to our send the tone button, whatever it's called there, and it's a pager with a little tower looking behind it, and we'll hold that, and we'll go ahead and click that, and our tones will start coming over. And once that's complete, objective number 2 has been met. And so we've done our pre-announce, and we've done our tones. The last part is actually dispatching that fire call that we talked about before. And so that's just a matter of coming back over into our transmit button, because our radio channels are still selected, and we can go ahead and transmit that call. And so we can go ahead and give all the particulars of that fire call. Fire call, engine 711, engine 721, and 731, etc., etc., etc. Structure fire, smoke showing, and the address. And so once we've got that, now then we've met all the objectives of putting out that fire call. And so again, pre-announce, the tones, and dispatching of the fire call. Once we're done here, we are it's just a matter of course, assigning that TAC channel and then listening for our fire apparatus to go ahead and start going to that call. Now, one thing that I didn't do, and just so you know, I didn't forget about it. A lot of times we do include the control button in there, especially if we're going to be sending 2 PSOs. And so I didn't do this because I wanted to be a little bit more general about how we send our fire calls. But obviously, we can incorporate the control channel when we dispatch that fire call, if we need to, or we can separate, or we can just have whoever's working the patrol side of the radio system go ahead and send them. It's not. One thing we don't want to do is make sure we don't want. We used to have a problem of doing that in tones, and the guys would have to sit there and listen to the tones also, and so we don't want to do that. So just so you know, that's an option there. And so we've got all the basics down for dispatching a fire call. We've got a format and a procedure, and so now we can all be consistent. We've got something to go by now. And so if there's a deviation, there's always something to revert back to now, which is a good thing. And so consistency is what we're talking about. Consistency, as the quote says, consistent action creates consistent results, and that's what we're looking for. That's what the chief is looking for. That's what Livingston's looking for. That's the name of the game. Is we're wanting to make sure that we're consistent across all the squads and how we're dispatching it. It's only when we can get on board with that mission that we of not deviating away and not trying to be, I'm going to do it my way, and we want to make sure that we can come together here and as a team do it in the same way. It's only as a team that we can do it correctly, that we can do it the right way. And so when and if complaints come or errors are made, we can as a team come back and say, well, we've got our foundation here, we've got our procedures, we've got our format. And so that's really, really important. So again, that's your training for this month. And so if you have any questions or concerns about anything, feel free to let me know or let Ray know, and if we need to make changes, we'll make changes. And so there you go, guys. Take care. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Welcome to another edition of training. And so this week we'll do dispatching fire calls. And so you would ask yourself, why fire calls? And because I'm an idiot. Welcome to another edition of training. Got it. How to give it out with using your radio, computer, Majabon. Welcome to training. Consistently. Crap. Dispatching fire call training. No. Stop. Get those CAD recommendations. Gosh. And I think we're done.